Kayla has one job, and that's to tell me to record. And once I get recording, then things are good. It's like when I was in Mexico on our little fun trip here. One of the girls, her only job was to put blue stickers on people with their name. And if they put on a coat, she had to put on another sticker because I can remember nothing. And it's always embarrassing when you're the lead person and you've been with this person for a week and you still don't remember their name. So she was stuck with that, and she did pretty good till the end. And we have Kristen here showing up. Is Adriana here? No. Is Alan here? DeMarco? Macaulay?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, which one is that? Is that Alan?
Right here. Yes,
Okay.
DeMarco.
Okay, we transposed your name. We did it backwards. Is your first name DeMarco?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. When they did it right, I just not paying attention like I should. Macaulay, is Macaulay here?
I'm texting her right now to see if she's in Texas with our oldest daughter and our granddaughter. So I'm texting her right now to see if she's coming on.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Tyler, is Tyler here? Tyler
He's not going to be able to make it tonight.
Tyler, okay. She can do a makeup. You get one makeup, so she's good. And there's a Dion Brewer and a Sarah McCowan. So hopefully they'll show up. So anyway, listen, we're gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in and just get started with the grant stuff. I want to show you the GuideStar screen. Hopefully some of you have been in there. The first, somebody logged me out because somebody's trying to use it. So if you're in GuideStar, try not to use it during class because I'm trying to teach from it. But when you get in here, this is where you get some saved organizations. That's kind of from older classes. And then I was helping Angel out today and trying to help him with some, make it a little easier. So I did some saved searches for him. And I did one called Denver Foster. And I'm happy to help anybody with that if they need it. And when you get in here under that group, you have to enter the state Colorado. Otherwise, you get a whole bunch. This one maybe was Colorado.
Hey, Dan,
Yeah.
Just to interrupt real quick, Kalay's waiting. She's in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. Let me go let those people in. It's Macaulay. Let me get their names.
My son Jameson
Macaulay
is also.
and Jameson.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let them in now. If I let them in before I check them off, then I forget who it was. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right? So anyway, we're back in GuideStar, and this search I did for Angel. Let me mute somebody there. That I did for Angel kind of narrows it down. Now there's some mixed up ones in here like California Lending. But in general, it's Foster. And so that gives you a head start on getting these things. Okay, so if you have trouble, I understand, and we're here to help. And I might go online on Tuesday night if you need a hand, do a Zoom with whoever wants some help. So if you want some help, make sure I know about it. And I'm happy to help out for about an hour or so, maybe a little longer. We could do that on Tuesday night. So does anybody have has anybody gone in here and found something?
I have tried, but most of the organizations or charities, they don't have like a 990. And one did have a 990, but they didn't qualify like on the,
Okay.
yeah.
So well, that's some good news, Anna. You know why it's good news?
How was it?
Because maybe they shouldn't get money, right?
Yeah.
Where do you live at? What town?
I live in Compton.
Compton? Okay. Let's go over to, let's see if we can find Compton up here and help you out a little bit. So we'll just go here, Compton. And you could do Los Angeles, because anything in Los Angeles is close to where you are. Maybe that would be better. Because basically our rule is somewhere within 100 miles. And so if you do Los Angeles, you get 6,400 results right there. So there's a lot to pick from. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And if you want to narrow it down to, let's say Foster, just for fun. There's some foster nonprofits right there. Friends of Children is probably one. That would the revenue is supposed to be somewhere between 260 million. Is that what I told you guys? I think that's what I said. And so that one qualifies for that number, but then you got to go do the rest. So let's just pretend we're on this one here. And if you go down here, it's kind of hidden. This is the part that's kind of a drag, because now you get here and you're all excited. Oh, I found something, and this thing actually works. But you got to go down here for the tax forms, and you can see they have 3 tax forms. And then if you know how to download this file, you can
Does it matter
download.
sorry, does it matter if they're not recent, for example, like 2021?
Oh yeah, you're not going to get 2022 at all. This one's 28. That's good. That's good enough.
Oh, okay.
2015 gets a little dated, but you can see this one. I don't know where the revenue's down here in this middle part. So basically, you can download it on your computer if you know how to do that. And you can save it somewhere. And that way you have it on your computer and you don't have to worry about trying to go through this thing really fast. Okay, so did that help you a little bit? Hey, has somebody gone in here and actually found one that they like? Anybody at all? Martha, you were talking, but you were muted. I don't know if you were trying to tell me something. Or...
I'm sorry, my son is right here. He came in and was asking me questions.
Nice. Let's tell him it's not Father's Day yet. But Father's Day is more like Father's Day month is the way I look at it. So but you get treated good for a month. Mom's is just one day. Okay,
Hey,
so
Daniel,
has it?
speaking of sons, I think my son Lincoln is in the waiting room still.
Oh, he is. Okay. Just
Thank you.
waiting and waiting. Okay, so in theory, we're supposed to do presentations next week. But, that's always in theory. Kayla, where are you at with all this?
So, like I was telling you when we first signed on, the group, the nonprofit that I'm looking at, Make the Chess Move, they It's a teen, they're like young adults. They help teens with mental health because there's a lot of gun violence in Aurora right now.
Okay.
And so they were on the news on Friday. That's where I saw them. But if they're too new and they don't have the revenue or the 990, then my backup would be the gentleman that started the Robert F. Smith STEAM School. He has a number of nonprofits that my kids are involved with in the Montbello area in Denver. So
Okay.
I'm just in between those two right now.
Okay, give it a crack, and if you need me to help on Tuesday, make sure I know about it.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Angel, I've talked to you, and I know where we're at. Terry, how are you doing? You're still on mute, Terry.
Okay. Yeah, I
There you go.
have three that I'm looking at. One is started by a 15-year-old young lady about 7 years ago, and it looks very inviting as far as a food bank type of situation.
What's the name of it?
I have it somewhere. I don't have my fingers on it right now.
Okay.
Two.
And have you tried GuideStar yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I
good.
did check that one. There's one Acres of Hope that I have not had a chance to look at, but I think that's for battered ladies, battered women.
Okay, let me see
If you might pull that up.
Acres of Hope. Okay. And what state are you?
California.
Okay, so are you Sacramento area?
Yeah,
Okay, well, here's the one in Auburn. I think that's what.
that's it right there. Yeah.
And their receipts are good. And so are looking good as far as that goes. And here's a tax return. It's somewhere.
Excuse me, Dan, when you get a minute, Kwame had to jump off and jump back on because his internet was messed up, so he's in the waiting room.
Okay. Oh, somebody went in the GuideStar. Somebody bumped me up. So don't go into GuideStar during class if you can remember. So it was Placer. Was this the right one here?
Yeah, that's the right one.
Okay, now the tax forms show up. They show up when I'm logged in, and then you get a 2020 up here. And so you should be able to navigate through that and take a look. And do you know how to download on your computer and all that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I don't mean to insult anybody when I ask you. I'm just trying to make sure I understand if you need a little help. So Anna, I think I talked to you. DeMarco, where are you at?
I'm in Texas.
And have you been able to go into GuideStar?
No, I tried it one night, but I wasn't able to pull up anything that when I did.
Okay. So I'll be around Tuesday night if you want a little help. You just gotta let me know by email. And if you need a little help, if you don't mind, give me the name of who it was. And then also try GuideStar before I start helping you. Benjamin, how you doing? Have you been able to go on the GuideStar and all that?
I did once early on. I haven't done it since, but we're looking. I was hoping to do that one that we looked at last time called Mentors International, but it doesn't seem like they work in Utah. They're working around the world. So there's another one called the Utah Refugee Center.
Okay.
And there's a food pantry here in our hometown that we're looking at as well.
Okay, super. And you're pretty good on computer. You guys, your group is downloads and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I think we're going to be okay. We just got to get on there and look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Super. Good to know. Thank you. Let's see, Christian. How you doing tonight, Christian?
Never better.
Good. You remember your mom today, or did you forget?
Dang, you better believe I remembered. Forgetting on
go.
Mother's Day.
Yeah,
It's
really.
like a death sentence, man.
Exactly. You go backwards. She might disown you. Have you been able to go on the GuideStar and all that?
Yeah, I've been on GuideStar. I found a few organizations last week, but I remember we went over them and I don't think any of them really qualified. Like they just didn't have the information
Okay,
or something was wrong. So I still need to revisit that and find
okay,
some like eligible orgs, but I definitely found some that interested me. So
okay, okay, super. So you felt comfortable navigating on there?
oh yeah, and the
Okay.
whole like point system and everything is cool.
Okay, it is cool because I used to have to grade these things without that. So it takes a while. 80, how you doing on finding something? Have you been in GuideStar and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I've looked at it a little bit. I think I just need to spend a little bit more time on there and figure out which organization I want to do for sure, make sure it qualifies. But
Okay.
yeah, I feel pretty comfortable that I can figure it out.
Okay, you're good. Where do you live, 80?
I live in Provo, Utah. It's like close to
Okay.
Salt Lake.
Okay, you want to do be my first presentation next week?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Or we'll
Do
give it
I-
a shot.
Am I just presenting like the one I come up with and how like
Yeah,
it
why don't
qualifies?
you present one? You got to write a grant. There's a grant form. There's a
Okay.
990 form. There's a 990 analysis, and then you talk about it for 2 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like you're trying to sell it or be a lawyer or do it that way.
Okay.
So
Sounds
we'll,
good.
we'll start with you and we'll have early success.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Adi. And Jameson, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
There you go. What time is it where you live?
I had 7.
7. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not your sleep time yet.
No, not yet.
You got 5 hours to go, right?
No.
Have you had some success, some GuideStar success?
Yeah, I looked at it with my dad that one time he hopped on.
Okay,
I think that I'm gonna try to look into that local food pantry
okay,
in our town. So yeah.
okay. There should be a good selection of nonprofits there, I'm guessing. And sometimes this class kind of opens your eyes to something you hadn't thought about before. One of my favorite one is the surf club in Orange County that takes the handicapped wheelchair kids and takes them out surfing for a day. It's probably one of my favorites because it's very different and very unique. In fact, is the parents to get a break from having to watch their kid that day, they all go and watch the whole thing because it's so much fun. Anyway, it's one of my favorite. Maybe you guys have a surf thing in Provo that you don't know about. What do you think? No? Okay. Macaulay, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm actually going to look at cross purpose as well. So my 2 is ALG and cross purpose.
Okay.
I still need to out because I know that when we looked up ALG, we were not able to find their something was going on with their designation, and so but they just got like a grant from Amazon, and so they're getting like their nonprofit is getting various funding or whatever. So I got to figure that out. So I'm gonna talk to them and see what we're missing from GuideStar because they did show up, but there was some type of way that it showed up like they didn't have their tax ID was invalid or something.
What are they called again? ALG?
African Leadership Group is what ALG stands for. And they're in Colorado.
So are they in Aurora? Is that right?
Yeah.
And you said there was an issue, right? Let's see, where is the, I don't see a text, and maybe that was the problem.
Well, I think that's the designation that where it said red or something, but it said something that oh, I guess that wasn't it. No, I'm sorry. It said something about their tax ID something was going on with it when we looked it up. I haven't looked it up since, but
Okay,
that's one of the organizations. I don't know if they're 990. It was something that we couldn't find their 990. There was something going on where we
Okay.
couldn't find it. So I'm getting with them to ask them for a copy of it.
okay, sounds good. And we have a lot of cross-purpose people that went through this, so. And here's Colorado Springs.
No, this one, it's not that one. It's the first one that you were in.
Oh, I know. I was just looking at this one just for fun.
Oh,
And
sorry.
they do have a tax form. They have a whole bunch of them. So you could maybe use them if you want. Their income might be too low though on this one. So it's 44 right there. And I think we like it to be 200,000 if I remember correctly. Anyway,
Okay.
thanks for checking it. So I think you're good. And
Hey,
let's
Daniel,
see.
Daniel,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My wife and son got kicked off again, so they're in the waiting room.
Well, they were like talking in class and I threw them out. That's fine, thanks.
Thank
They're,
you.
they're in Texas. All right,
No,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we're in Utah. I don't know if you were talking to us when you said they're in Texas, but
Oh, I thought you said they were in Texas or something. No problem.
That's Calais. She's in Texas.
Oh, well, I knew somebody was in Texas. And then Kwame, how you doing?
Man, I ain't even logged in there yet. I'm
Okay.
attempting to figure out my nonprofit still. So I'm gonna probably
Okay.
spend some time tomorrow. I've
Okay.
got 3 that I'm going to potentially look at. I'll decide that tomorrow, and then I'll dig into there this week and be ready to present on Sunday.
Let's take a look here. Let's get the name of one of them.
Okay.
You know the name of one of them?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
Sure.
It's athletics and beyond.
So, and where are you looking for? Colorado?
Yeah, it's in Colorado. That's it right there.
Right here? Okay.
Yep. Our shop, actually, we contribute to them regularly,
Okay.
but I never took the time to actually look them up or the tax information and things like that. So that was one of the ones that I wanted to take a deeper dive into.
Okay. Their revenues qualifies them. Yeah, it's always when I have ones I like, I always get a little nervous doing this in case they're really bad. So cases you go, oh, I did that all that time, and maybe I'll look around. So anyway, they're there. So cool.
All right, cool.
Thank you, sir. And I'll put you down as one of the presenters next week.
Boom.
Next Sunday is the 15th. So hopefully it's not any holiday I don't know about yet.
It's gonna be Sunday day.
Sunday day. Okay, let me see if we can. Any questions on all this? Okay, can you guys see the beautiful slide I got up there?
Not yet.
No, okay. Oh, it's because I'm not sharing. It's like all you do when you teach is click in and click out. Click out. Okay, you can see it now. Is that correct?
yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a look, and I sent this to you guys already, a PDF. I'll go through it kind of quickly on certain parts. But anyway, we're talking a little bit about poverty tonight. And the focus is on, the first focus is on worldwide poverty. Of the 6 billion people back in 1999, how many lived on less than $1.90 a day? And on the 7.3 in 2015, how many lived on less than $1.90 per day?
Wow.
I'd ask you guys for guesses, but I think it would, I don't think anybody knows, to be honest. Does anybody feel like they know? Let's take a
I
look
was
at
gonna guess five. Oh, okay, I was way off. I was gonna guess 5 billion, but that's, I'm
5
glad
billion?
that I was way off.
So it's 1.7 billion lived on less than $1.90 a day. Now, I know things are tough in our country. It's, you know, we've gone through kind of a rough, bumpy period. But this kind of puts it a little bit in perspective. It's 1.7 billion people have lived on less than $1.90 a day, which is 28%. It's a lot of people. A lot of people. Of the 7.3 in 2015, it was less than 10%. So part of what we try to teach here in the class is things are getting better. Because a lot of times, I know Kwame's a pretty positive person. I can just kind of tell, he likes looking at the positive side. I tend to look at the negative side, and a lot of us look at the negative side. And sometimes we're hammered so much with negative information that when we say something like this, it's kind of exciting because actually some things are getting better. I think drilling wells for water is almost in the same proportional improvement because so many people are focused on digging wells throughout the world to people some water. But anyway, this gives you a little bit of an idea. So that would be 0.7 billion that are living in $1.90 per day or less instead of 1.7. Did you think American numbers were getting worse? And my point when I said we're negative is we're negative because 2/3 of us thought it was getting worse. And actually there was a lot of improvement, But the reason I think the reason we go negative is that we have so much negative news. And basically disasters and negative news sells more than positive news. And so I think that's just how it is.
I mean, but what now? Yeah, you're right. I am the positive guy, but when I'm looking at it, surely the cost of living from 1999 to 2015 has increased, and living on less than 190 a day could be 195 or $2. So I mean,
right?
You know, I don't know. It
Yeah,
just begs the question.
I think for the purpose of the class, just to figure they figured inflation in this.
Mhm.
So it's the same not $1.90 value.
Okay.
So there has, you know, it might be $2.90 or $3.90, but whatever it is, it's not much. It's
right.
Not, you know, if it's $1 or $6, it's just like I know it's different because you know they don't have houses they're buying, but they can't afford anything. It's like so anyway, they've learned how to survive and still live. That's I think the best thing you can say. But there's still a lot of needs out there. But anyway, 2/3 of the Americans thought it was actually getting worse. The continent that has it the worst is Africa. Of the 1 billion people living in sub-Saharan Africa, what percentage live on less than $1.25 a day? So somebody take a shot at that for me. Probably, what would you say?
About 50%, maybe.
50%. Anybody else?
What does sub-Saharan mean?
I think it's the band of Africa that's the desert part of it. That's a good question. I don't know the actual answer, but I think that's what it is. 41%. So you weren't off. It's like pretty bad. Pretty bad. It's kind of shocking, actually. Compared to the rest of the world, the poverty issue in Africa is much, much more severe. Focus on poverty children. How many children under 5 died last year from preventable diseases? Now, one thing we have is kind of a grid right now is COVID, because we've just come out of it. And basically, COVID was probably a 99% you weren't going to get it thing. And so this is going to give you a little perspective on maybe some of our reactions to something. So last year, 4 million kids, children under 5 died last year from preventable causes. COVID wasn't one of them. In 1990, the number was 5 times higher. So again, there's a 80% improvement. The top 5 preventable causes that, if you could prevent it, they wouldn't die. Pneumonia. There's immunizations and antibiotics. And immunizations, I'm going to ask you guys, does that mean vaccines? I think that's maybe a vaccine. Is that correct? Would you guys consider that an immunization? So I know some people are not too hot on vaccines. There's some people that are hot on vaccines, but there's some people that really don't think any of them are any good. But I always try to share with people. I said, be careful that you don't go over the edge, because there's a lot of kids that died and a lot of kids live because of vaccinations. And so this would be one example. Birth complications, that means there's not a good hospital. Newborn infections, breastfeeding, hospital care again. Diarrhea, so that's the clean water and proper food, proper nutrition. And malaria is a big one. And if you have hospital nets, and again, if you have hospital care, it helps a lot. Any questions? Is this new information to any of you, or did you guys all know this already?
That's brand new for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me too.
I've heard it before, but seeing the statistics, it brings it, it really brings it to light.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about poverty in America, United States. People in the United States over 25 years old, what group of people are the most likely to be living below the poverty level?
Children.
Okay, so I heard children. Let me write these down real quick. Children.
Boomers, potentially.
I'm sorry, what?
Boomers.
Is that baby boomers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the elderly.
The elderly?
I might guess single mothers.
Single moms? Christian, what do you think?
Immigrants.
Immigrants? Okay. And let's get one more. Anna, what do you think?
I think also like 30-year-olds, like going to adulthood.
30-year-olds, okay. Are you 30?
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. Okay. I got a couple 40-year-old kids, so everybody thinks they have it the worst. So the people living in the United States over 25 years old, what group of people are the most likely to be living below the poverty level? And the answer is those without a high school diploma. Okay, so when you say school is important, it's important because it keeps you out of poverty. I would also say this, a good school. I know a lot of schools are not so good. And I know a lot of people don't get a choice on if they can have a good school or not so good, but that's kind of another topic for another time. But those without a high school diploma.
Hey, Dan, we're not seeing your screen anymore.
That's because I am not sharing it. And I went to sharing class just the other day. So here we go. Now you see it officially, not just from my lips, 26.3. So how is poverty in the United States different from poverty in poorer countries? It's a kind of a loaded question.
I would say like, well, I feel like the people that are here in the US get a little bit more assistance from the government than other countries do. I feel like other countries don't support their people as much.
Okay, so maybe our government's a little better. Anybody
Particularly
else?
when the elderly, I would agree with what Anna said, but with the elderly in certain countries, particularly Africa and some of those, I'm sure in other countries as well, there is not a Social Security program or some type of funding when you are in a place that you can't work. They rely on relatives and things of that nature, and if they don't have relatives, then they're kind of stuck out there to fend for themselves. Whereas Americans, we have, like she was talking about, programs where the government will help you.
Good. So having a good democracy helps. One thing I like about people going on GU trips, the places we go, is a lot of them learn to appreciate the United States a little more. All right, let me actually share the screen again. There we go, I'm getting better. The United States has many safety nets, like you were just stating, so that was well stated. Experts estimate it would cost billions a year to end world hunger. So let's look at a few things in comparison. And here's one of our favorites, especially on Sunday after Mother's Day when you've been eating all day. How much do Americans spend on weight loss programs and products? And how much do Americans spend on obesity-related health care? And so I'm not going to embarrass anybody. We'll just go right to the answers. Experts estimate it would cost $44 billion a year to end world hunger. Now, I think with that statement, you have to assume that 44 billion would get to the people and feed them, not stolen by governments and corrupt people on the way to the actual recipient. So that'd be a clean 44 billion. How much do Americans spend on weight loss programs and products? 62 billion. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a comparison. How much do we spend on obesity-related healthcare? A whole bunch of money. And so it looks like we spend about 250 billion on these two combined. And so in theory, and that's a theory, is world hunger could be erased. Now, there's a question that we look at, is there a fixed amount of wealth in the world? And so we're going to pretend like we're in a poker game. 20 people put in $100, which gives us a $2,000 pot. And the question is, did the total amount of wealth change? And the answer is no, it just got moved around a little bit. It got moved from people's wallets into a pot. And the question is there a fixed amount of wealth in the world? And the answer is no. Hang on just a second, I'm going to close one of my doors. Okay, I'm back. If an area had no farms and then later has farms, there's wealth creation. If you buy cloth for $1 and sell finished clothes for $5, then there's new wealth. So this is how wealth is created. If a bank or credit card loans money to you, there is no wealth if you produce some. So a lot of times if you're in a business, you need to buy raw materials for the things you make. That helps you create wealth. If you buy an iPhone, $500, that's a good deal. It's probably $1,000 now. And then drop it in the toilet, then there is less wealth in the world. And besides that, you've lost your brain because we're all living on these phones. So again, the question is, are things getting better or worse? Getting better. The gross world product is the sum of all goods and services. And in 1990, sorry, 1.1 trillion. In 1925, 2.1 trillion, so doubled again by 1950. Quadrupled by 1975. By 2000, it was up 41 times from 1900. In 2014, it's 78 trillion. So you can just see how it's been growing. So there's more productivity, there's more goods and services, there's a lot more going on in the world. The other thing is poor countries are growing faster than richer countries. And the reason is it's easier for them to multiply quicker because their numbers are so much smaller. A country like US already has big numbers. Probably China does, also in probably India. But the super poor countries grow really fast because their numbers are so low. Here's a little quote I saw on a Giving Tuesday site. People are currently more motivated to give than perhaps any other time in history and across all cause areas. And so there's more of an attitude these days of being generous and giving. It doesn't always translate into action, but at least that's what everybody says. Here's a great question. Why can't poor people just start working? Does any of you ever think that? Sometimes I do. I don't know if it's always the right thing to think, but it crosses our minds.
Is this like, are you asking this question for in the American sense or internationally? Because I know as far as like over here, some poor people can't work if they're getting government services because once they start working, they lose their services, which means they could lose whatever little bit of stability they had. So it's not really interchangeable.
Right. Well, that's a good point. I think we're looking at probably just in general, the United States and the world. So one thing that poor people have, like these $1.90 people, let's think in terms of them, is what are they trying to do? They're trying to stay alive. And that $1.90 goes really fast. Their government is corrupt. A lot of times, a lot of us have some viewpoints about our government, but there's some of them out there that are really super bad. They don't know how to get started, so they get stuck in a mindset. They don't know how to get, they just don't know how to start. I listened to a guy that I really like, and he says, when you have a new idea, just go try it. Try something, try a little bit of it. Let's say you're gonna go to the gym all the time. He says, well, every day at least put on your gym clothes, and if you don't do anything else, at least you made that step. It's just, you got to get started. And a lot of times people are held back just because they won't start anything. They have no raw materials to work with. And can people that are poor escape the trap with safe drinking water? They can. Education and healthcare. On one of my trips, I was in Serbia, and one of our groups that we were looking to help a little bit was the gypsies. And the gypsies experience more racism than any group by far in the Eastern Europe area. And going back to healthcare, they don't even have restrooms. I mean, that's how backwards they are. And they're nomadic and no city, or nobody wants them in their city. Nobody wants anything to do with them. And so it's a hard people group to try to help because of the negative connotations. But it's an example of, like, they have no healthcare. They have no idea of hygiene and restrooms and stuff like that. Seed money for businesses. We're going to talk a little bit about Kiva. Kiva is a group I really like. Government transparency. Is the government lying to them all the time? Limiting foreign aid. And in some countries, there's a culture of laziness. Nobody ever likes to say this. That could be one of the problems.
Hey, Dan, Kwame is in the waiting room. He had to reboot.
Cool. Kwame and Aiden. Thanks for letting me know.
Sure.
What is the right way to end poverty? The best way is economic growth. Because when you're depending on government assistance, the government assistance is the government taking money from one set of people and giving it to another set. It's not economic growth. Economic growth is when you take those raw materials and make shirts out of them. How do you grow an economy? With seed money and training. Here's an example. What if you gave a third world entrepreneur 2 rabbits? He could raise rabbits, feed his family, and have a surplus to sell. But if you gave another entrepreneur carrot seeds, he could grow carrots, feed his family, and sell carrots to the rabbit farmer. So you're starting a little cycle. And here's some proverbs. He who is generous will be blessed. Or gives some of his food to the poor. And whoever gives to the poor will lack nothing, but those who close their eyes to poverty will be cursed. I think those are from the book of Proverbs, actually, in the Bible. So here's a way that we suggest, and I really like this, is a way of helping people. And it's called microeconomic lending. The definition is lending small amounts of money to train entrepreneurs to help them start businesses. Most successful ones use co-ops, groups of people that all must pay back in a lump sum and therefore support each other. And we're going to take a look at Kiva. And the Kiva has a payback rate of 97%. I'm going to show you a couple of videos on Kiva. But I would really like you guys to look at Kiva because you can get started helping people by lending them money. And I think they have a $50 minimum, and you can start with just that little amount, and then you can start lending money to people. And you can pick people, and you can pick things you like that you have a high interest in, and you can help these people get ahead by loaning them some money. It's Kiva.org. And how Kiva works is you go in there, sign up, and do all that stuff. You choose a borrower. So you look through lots of stories and what's going on. You make a loan, and then you get repaid, and then you repeat it. It's real simple. And there's faith groups, there's non-faith groups, there's environmental groups, there's women, all kinds of stuff. But you can see here, I have a lot of categories. If you want to help women, have at it. You like agriculture and growing stuff, that's a great place to loan money. Shelter, sustainable. Everybody talks about sustainability these days. So there's those kind of ventures. There's war zones, just education. Oops. And so there's just all kinds of things. And there's lending teams. And if you notice here, there's groups that become little teams that kind of, in a way, have little contests with each other. And so, Christians are kind of known as being generous to a certain extent. So they've loaned, it says 87 million, I think it is, to Kiva. However, if you're an atheist, an agnostic, or a skeptic, you guys are right up there with them in second place. So if you're a person of faith, it's nice to be, have a little pride in that, but don't have too much pride because the atheists are right behind you. So anyway, this is the atheist team right down here. And so I like it because this is like a little giving university thing. It's all kinds of people kind of learning about generosity and how to fix some things in the world. Let me go back to that. I have to, whoops, I didn't do this now. So I'm going to play a little clip here. See a little adventure in how good I'm at. Is there any questions on Kiva off the bat? Can you guys see the video and hear it?
Yep, we can see it.
Is there audio on it also?
Don't hear any audio yet.
Okay, I think I have to share it differently. There's a couple boxes.
Oh, you haven't played it yet, I think. That's why.
Huh? All right, I bet you'll be able to hear it.
World.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, I checked all the right boxes. Here we go.
Spark can change the world, no matter who you are or where you're from. The year is 2005, and Elizabeth, a widow and mother in Uganda, needs a loan to grow her business. Each of these green sparks of light represent a $25 loan from Sandra and 4 other people who believe in Elizabeth. Sandra is among the first lenders to back someone's dream on Kiva.org.
And I really liked that because it was a $25 loan. Like anybody in our class right now can afford $25. And my point isn't the $25. It's just that a little can go to help somebody else in the world and make a difference. It's just real. I think it's just really cool.
And Elizabeth is one of the first borrowers to successfully repay the people who believed in her. Watch along as more people become Kiva lenders, backing the dreams of borrowers around the world. This animation shows 10 years of Kiva's lending activity and impact. In 2006, Kiva ignites into a global phenomenon. With more than 2 billion people around the world living in poverty, lenders embrace the chance to spark change. Roughly 75% of Kiva loans are to women. Women such as Isadora in Bolivia are more likely to use their income to grow their businesses, increase crops, and send their kids to school. Her loan was crowdfunded by 45 lenders, people including Deborah in California. After Deborah was repaid, she relent the same $25 to another borrower, like Gina in the Philippines. By the end of 2009, more than $100 million in loans are funded, and Kiva continues to crowdfund innovation by pushing the boundaries of financial inclusion. Education loans marked in yellow help students, including Miriam in Kyrgyzstan, finance her education, vastly increasing her lifetime earning potential. Her dream was backed by 41 people like you. By 2012, lenders have funded thousands of loans in conflict-affected regions to people such as Amadou in Mali, where access to capital is key to rebuilding. Alice in Uganda and other borrowers are able to take out green loans through Kiva. And by 2013, lenders have funded thousands of green loans for organic agriculture, clean cook stoves, and solar lights. Kiva is both a global and local phenomenon. Watch as people in the US, Kenya, and Mongolia lend to others in their own communities. And after 10 years with the help from hundreds of field partners, these 1.8 million borrowers in over 80 countries have a repayment rate of 97%, allowing 1.4 million people like you to relend that money again and again. And all of this change is being made one person, one loan at a time. It's been 10 years, and Kiva is still all about supporting each other as a connected global family. By working together, each of us can be the spark that changes the world. At kiva.org.
All right, had any of you heard of Kiva before? Anybody?
I've never heard of it, but that's remarkable.
It's awesome. We have a Giving University group in there. It's really light, let's just put it that way. It's kind of embarrassing actually, but what I really like is you can pick stuff that you like, that you have a passion for, and you can start making a difference either locally or across the world. I'm gonna play one more Kiva video because I like them so much. Let me find it here. But it's an awesome idea for sure. And but what I really like is that payback rate is super high. I have a friend that's kind of not the same thing, but he's working on an adoption group up in Reno, Nevada. And he's a pro-lifer, so I just put that out there, but he's working really hard to get funding for people that adopt. And if you can raise $15,000 for adoption, the tax laws now let people write off the adoption and get back the $15,000 over a 4 or 5 year period. So if everybody pays everything back, the adoption ends up being almost zero. And so that's just another cool way of keeping things running. Let's see if shows on the video on my computer. There we go. Okay, let's show another one. I'm gonna do my screen share thing here. You guys all see the Philippines story here. We'll show one.
Ang akong pangita, pangisda. Tulod na ron sa 20 ka tuig ang akong pagpanginabuhi. Bason laman nga buligan pud mi sa Ginoo nga sa among pagpanginabuhi ug madamlag magtuo bisan mo sa may kalisod.
Hi, I'm Eileen.
Ako si Flor Didisa.
Negosyo na ko karon is ang panagat. Kuhaan karon naka-loan ko og 20,000, ipalit na ko pud og dugang nga gamit sa mga panagat like sa pukot o pasol. Kanon dako kayo ikatabang sa ako ang anak nga nag-eskwela diha sa private school.
Paningo agin sa among pagpangabuhi nga ang gusto niya nga ang amon agyan sang uli hindi maagyan sa among kabataan sa subong. Ang sa subong, 3 na ang amon nga kaugaling nga pambot, kag 5 ka klase sang panagat. Tungod kay sang una nang ang amon nga nagapabuso lang akon bana kag sa subong may taho kami nga 5 ka taho nga nagaupol sa amon panagat. Sa ako inapabugay sa taho no, nang kinalanggali sa pagpangabuhi, updad na gid sa pagpatingwa kag kapisan.
O nagpasalamat po ko sa Kiva nga nagapa-improve sa among pamilya.
So those are just two examples, or two different videos actually, of how you can make a difference out there. So what I did with my granddaughter, I think I gave her $50 or something like that, and I told her to go do some keto. I have to follow up with her because she's been paid back, but hasn't returned the money. So anyway, there was a comment.
Yeah, let me, this reminds me of something, and I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and when our people, the early members of our church, were moving to Utah for the first time, they were coming by covered wagons and hand carts from the Midwest and the East to across the plains into Utah, and they started a thing called the Perpetual Emigration Fund. And it's the same concept where those that had already arrived to Utah would pay money to help people outfit to make the journey back. And then once they got to Utah, they would repay and help others get there. And then back in 2001, our church revamped that idea for very similar to Kiva to do education loans. And now they call it the Perpetual Education Fund instead of emigration. It's the same thing there. People can donate small amounts of money to help other members of our church all around the world go to college or go to a technical school. And then once they get a job, they pay back into the fund so that other people can have the same benefit. So it's a wonderful idea. I love the communal aspect of it.
Yes, and is the payback rate pretty good with the group you're talking about?
It is. In our case, it's considered a donation, right? So,
Right.
So the church, I think, administers the loans, and so once, like, if I just donate $25, I don't see that come back, but
Right.
I know that the church is administering that money wisely. So,
Super. Well, there's
Yeah.
3 different examples of sustainability, really, of funding the Mormon Church, the adoption or the adoption group, and then Kiva. I like Kiva because you can kind of always see your money, and
Right.
And what the thing I like is the relending aspect, because then it's starting to really build especially the lives of kids. And, anyway, thanks for that great example, Benji.
Hey, Dan, one other thing, and don't be offended at this, but we don't like to be called the Mormon Church.
Oh, okay.
We're the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay. Is there a short version? Is there a short version?
No, well, the Church of Jesus Christ or the Restored Church of Jesus Christ. We've been known as the Mormons because we have a second witness of Jesus Christ called the Book of Mormon that we use in addition to the Bible. So
okay,
we can talk more about that when we go on our GU trip.
Sure, there you go. Well, I didn't mean to offend you for sure.
No offense taken. I hope I didn't give any by correcting you.
No problem. All right. Any other comments on this Kiva group? I'd like you all to go in there and check it out if you can this week and take a look at it. Now, let me show you this what we got going. We have a GU group in there, and so it hasn't been real active. But if you join Kiva and you want to join this group, this is something that we're going to work on to try to make it more active. People always ask me, well, after our class and after our trips, what do we do? And so what we do is we try to have alumni meetings every quarter and encourage people in generosity. And this is one area where you can kind of perpetually be giving and be part of the Giving University alumni club, so to speak. But we do have a group in Kiva. It's a little embarrassing right now because it's kind of thin.
Are we supposed to be seeing your screen again?
Yes.
Okay.
And that means I have to share the screen.
Thank you.
But anyway, there you can see what I'm talking about. Is there's a Kiva lending team, Giving University, right there, and then the impact is really low. It's only 15 members, but you guys could make it 35 if you all joined our team, because we have 20 in our class. Very cool group. Very cool thing. Okay, so next week we'd like to get some organizational reviews going, and at least I would like you to have a name of somebody and at least gone in and checked out GuideStar to see if it's listed in there. If you get it together and you have a grant, you have to do the review, the grant review, the scorecard, and the 990. You send it to that email. That's Beth. She taught you last week. Oral presentations should be just a few minutes describing the organization, why you picked it, and what you learned from your 990 analysis. And Stuck, send an email to me. And let me ask you a question. If I make myself available Tuesday night, does that help any of you? Raise your hand if that'll work for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, más o menos. So I'll send an email. I'll probably do 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And it'll be informal and it'll be the same length. And if you'd like some help, I'd be happy to do it. And if you come, you can watch us do, some of the different organizations and kind of get a feel for it. I think a really good way to do it, though, is to print out that 990 analysis, print out a couple of them, because it's easier, at least for me, to write it down to see where it is. But here's why I like the 990 analysis, is it gives you a really quick way to figure out if it's worth doing all the other work. So if you do a 990 analysis and the scoring is like a 10, you don't need to bother with the big grant, with emailing anybody, because the answer is no. Okay, so it's real easy that way. However, if you do one and it's a 16, turn it in if it's a 15 even. Sometimes we don't approve them, but if you have some really good reasons, we'll listen, and sometimes we do. But if you turn in one that's a 15 or 16 and it's a good presentation and you do a good oral presentation, you've completed that part of your class. We don't fund that group, but you've done the work, and so that means you have done the exercise. What we are willing to do, if we don't fund that group, is we just tell you to find somebody else, and we're more than happy to do the $1,000 grant. Christian?
Could you possibly just put that last slide up one more time? I need to take a picture of it for Tyler, since he's not here, just the assignment.
Also, you already got a copy of the PDF.
And Dan, while you're doing, is it possible that when you meet on Tuesday, if you guys could record it for those of us who have prior obligations and cannot make it, and maybe send out the video?
Sure. If somebody remind me to record it, but I'll try to remember. or if you want to text me at 6 o'clock, that would work also. But yeah, I'll do my best to remember. So I think that's the last slide. But yeah, good point. We'll try to record it so you have a good idea of what we're doing. Now we have a few minutes left, and we haven't talked much about Poverty Inc. I don't think Beth talked too much about it last week, but give me some of your feedback on Poverty Inc. Anybody?
Are you speaking of the video that we watched?
Yeah, Poverty Inc. The video.
I think for me that is it was very impactful. It still sticks with me. And we do some volunteering in the African community, and I had a class that I had to go and speak at last week, and it's an entrepreneur class for Africans who are here in America, who are in Colorado particularly. And one of the things that they had to get up and give a spiel as to what business they would start. It was just kind of like an exercise. But one of the gentlemen from, I believe he was from Nigeria, he talked about the inability to get microloans. He talked about which was in Poverty Inc., where big business can get it, small, really small businesses can get it, but that in the middle, there's nothing that's available to them. And so it just kind of proved in real time what's happening, just, I guess, substantiated what the video was saying and just kind of proved what the video was saying as far as, some of the real struggles there, even from an economic perspective. Like, there's many people who actually want to do something as far as entrepreneurship or bettering their lives, but the inability to do so because they don't have access to resources. So even just seeing Kiva tonight it just hit that much harder, because it's like, wow, there's a part of a solution. So
Yeah, and they may want to contact Kiva, because Kiva maybe has limits. I don't know enough about Kiva to know if they have limits up and down. But I would know this: if they have limits, they probably know somebody else that maybe does bigger loans, because bigger loans require probably more research to make sure they think the loan will get paid and all that good stuff. But anyway, super good input. And I think your point was sometimes it's harder for a little bit bigger groups to get funding in these countries. And probably it's hard for them to get Kiva, because probably there's a lot of people that want it and they just don't know about it, or Kiva is probably limited just like everybody else. They can't fix all the problems of everybody in the whole world. It reminds me a little bit, we're doing a home build in Mexico in June. The group we work with builds 125 homes a year, but probably the need is probably 2,000 homes a year. But you can only do what you can do. And the point is, you're in the game. And maybe someday you'll build 2,000, or maybe someday there'll be a 3D printer that builds the houses. You just don't know. But anyway, it's a good point. You want to be in the game. And it makes me think too, when we do stuff in Mexico, one thing at the border, they charge a 20% fee, and it's pretty annoying. But on the other hand, it protects their people, because if you bring like 300 sets of shoes to give away or sell, it takes away from some vendor down there that wants to sell shoes. And so you have to be a little bit wiser about, just giving away stuff. That was a great comment, though. Thank you.
I was just
I thought
reviewing.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Addie. Go ahead, Addie. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. I just thought it was very eye-opening to see the different businesses and things that people were trying to start up, like the guys who started the solar panels, I think it was, and they started that whole business, and then I think the earthquake came, and then we, or like other foreign countries, like tried to pour in resources, and it kind of ruined their business and put them in a rut. And I just thought that was an interesting take on like how we can help people. And I think it goes back to that point that we talked about today, that like solving poverty comes a lot more through like economic growth than like just us giving and giving, and like the fish analogy as well. So I've just been thinking a lot about like how, instead of just like giving something that's going to end instantly, instead of doing something like Kiva, like things that's going to help the economy in general, instead of just like feed one meal, even though feeding one meal is still good. But yeah.
Yeah, like you could put $1,000 in Kiva and really keep flipping that money, and you're just helping a lot more people in the long term. And so, as Americans, sometimes we get a pretty good sized ego, and sometimes we like the flashy stuff, but we don't like building the sewer lines. Let's put it that way. We do projects at the ranch we just went to, and it's easier to get. Nothing's easy, but it's easier to get funding for buildings from people. But when you fund the sewer system, it takes a long time. So basically, you have to steal a little from every project to get the sewer in. Christian, go ahead.
I just want to expound on what you just said. Something that I like realized as I watched Poverty Incorporated is that a lot of the nonprofit, and not all of them, of course, there's lots of great ones, but I think that the culture of nonprofit organizations is to find a solution and to find it fast. And sometimes that doesn't mean it's the best solution to this problem. I think that in many cases they're like superficial solutions, kind of surface level, if that makes any sense. And I think that culture of laziness that we were just talking about that contributes to poverty and just the lack of support for impoverished nations, that same culture is prevalent in nonprofits, because it's far easier to, like you said, throw money at a problem than to throw people, for example, or time, all these other resources. To take the time to actually teach people how to make their own money is a far greater investment that I think maybe we're not quite ready to make, but we need to be, if we really want to make a lasting difference.
Good comment. It's the long term, I've done a lot of this stuff. And really the best way you help people is getting them a good job. But that's really hard. It's just hard. But a good job is really what moves people and gets them on their feet and gets them helping other people. And but it's just hard. It's a hard thing to figure out. The orphanage we went to 2 weeks ago, the guy that runs the orphanage, what he tries to do with the orphans is they get an abundance of donations. So he takes the orphans out and they give away to the really super poor community some of the extras they get. So he's teaching the orphans to also be generous and to build that into their hearts.
I really liked what Addie and Christian said, and I was just reviewing my notes that I took on the movie, and I was reminded of one of the things that said was that these NGOs often do not buy their aid locally, right? And going back to the solar panel example that Addie talked about, if those NGOs had purchased their solar panels that they wanted to donate to Haiti from that local company that was making them, that would have been a better investment in the community, instead of just dumping, solar panels made somewhere else into the country, which devastated that poor guy's business. So that's something that I think for us to keep in mind as we look at different non-for-profits, like where are they sourcing their aid, and if they're sourcing it from local suppliers, then that's probably a better model than something else.
Okay, good comments. Yeah, it's a great movie. Because it kind of makes you, because when you go, people are donating stuff and being generous, you always assume, it's super great, super cool. People should be super grateful. But it kind of helps you get a bigger picture of what's going on and how you really help people. And I think Haiti's been kind of a model for a lot of NGO abuse over the years. And just because it gets a lot of money thrown at it. And so you got to go, in the long term, you go, is anything getting any better here? Are we making any difference, or are we just throwing money at stuff? So it's a complicated thing because, I know that at Saddleback Church, it's a big church group, and they think there shouldn't be orphanages in the world. And that's nice to think that way. But, out there, when a kid in Mexico is being warehoused because he's abandoned by his mom and dad, and they warehouse him, what are you going to do? Say, well, shouldn't have orphanages. And I know their point is in the long term, they think that, so I got to be fair to them. But the problem is there's real problems, and they're every day, and they're right in front of us. And then when there's a disaster, it tends to magnify problems that people have. we're looking at a trip to Kentucky where they just had the big tornado in December. And you have like 500 people without homes now. And so you have this super big problem that you didn't have before a tornado. And so you just have to kind of take a look and say, and the benefit of that movie is it puts it in your grid. So when you look at things, you have that in your grid, but it's just part of it. And there's other parts to, being generous and helping people out that you have to take into account. So anyway, I think that's it. We're going to just end a little early. And so work hard on going into GuideStar. On Tuesday, I saw enough of you raise their hand, so I'll make it 6 p.m. And it'll be the same link. And I'll try to remember to record it. It might be a little jumpy because, or even quiet at certain points because we're trying to look up stuff. And then, but here's what I'd like you to do. If you're going to come Tuesday, I'd like you to print out three or four of those 990 analysis forms. So we can look it up, and then I want you to score it and write it on your form, and then we'll double check it all. So I don't mind giving the time if you can do a little printout and kind of do a little work as you go up. As long as you have the printouts, even if they're blank, it helps because then we'll look at your tax return and kind of go through the different parts of it. Okie dokie. So we'll go as long as we need to on Tuesday at 6. Make sure you email me that you'll be there. Because sometimes I show up and nobody's there, but I know people sometimes are a little late, and that's fine. But let's figure 6 to 7 p.m. All right, you guys are the best. If any of you want to help me with a home build, and I think a couple of you are in June, I really appreciate it. It's a really fun trip and a really cool trip. And otherwise, I'll see you guys all next week again. Any final questions?